Something that I personally haven't seen folks talk about on YouTube is the comparison of Red Dead Redemption and GTA 5. Two games that have been marked as some of the greatest games of all time take on completely different settings and themes but are yet so similar. I've replayed Red Dead Redemption several times and recently came back to GTA 5 after like a 9-month hiatus and finished my playthrough of it a little over a week ago, and it left me very intrigued to talk about and compare the two games for a video. So in this video, we're going to be comparing and seeing if Red Dead Redemption is truly the better game than Grand Theft Auto 5, vice versa, from just the things they offer, their open world, etc. I know that I said on my community tab that I was going to be comparing Red Dead 1 to Skyrim, but upon looking more into it, I realized that the games are just not even comparable, so I scrapped that idea. And GTA 5 just hits closer to home when it comes to Red Dead 1. And I'm not doing Red Dead Redemption 2 because it wouldn't even be fair because Red Dead 2 came out on next gen, and Red Dead 1 and GTA 5 released both on the same platform, so it's gonna be more fair. But with that being said, let's take a look at Grand Theft Auto 5 and Red Dead Redemption. Ever since GTA has made a name for itself, every game that has had a similar formula to it always gets compared back to GTA, and even Red Dead Redemption is no exception to it. Ever since Red Dead 1 came out 14 years ago, it's always been called GTA but with horses. My brother, who hasn't even played the game, tells me it's just Grand Theft Auto 5 with horses. At first I called him a dumbass, but then I was like, you know what, actually, you're kinda right. As insulting as it sounds, it is true. Yes, it's a Western game, but when you look more closely at the mission structures, you realize, wait, this is actually kinda like GTA. If you didn't have a clue what Red Dead Redemption is, the best description I could give you is, it's GTA set in the Old West, but it's not a GTA clone. If you actually go around saying that Red Dead Redemption is a GTA clone, GTA 5's story focuses on a much more comedic, humorous side of the American culture, constant swearing and just a plot that isn't meant to be taken that seriously. While Red Dead 1 is very similar to GTA 4's tone, it's much more grounded, way more compelling. Everything with the decline of the Wild West and cowboy era coming to an end, John Marston having to hunt down his former buddies that used to run with so he could see his family again, makes the story just that more impactful. And honestly, it's not like either one's bad. I know people like to bitch and say that Grand Theft Auto 5's story is trash because it's not like GTA 4 or Red Dead 1. The map of Red Dead 1 is also technically way smaller than Grand Theft Auto 5's, but obviously in Red Dead 1 with the only sort of transportation being horses, the map feels like an endless void of desert as far as the eye can see. There's a total of 7 different towns across America and Mexico that all have pretty much perfect distinctions of what classic western towns looked like. The only problem with Red Dead 1's map is that after a few hours of playing, it becomes a massive eyesore. Everything is monotonous, looks the exact same, and it gets very blah traveling around, which is just merely because of how the Wild West looked. Hey, thank God Rockstar didn't add that piss filter every game 15 years ago did, because if they did, I don't think I would make it. In GTA 5, however, despite the two games having completely different maps, GTA 5's map just feels very tiny, even though it's objectively bigger than Red Dead 1. The way Rockstar created the map by only having one main city and the rest just nothing doesn't really feel all that lively, you know. Yeah, in Red Dead 1 it's 80% nothing, but you have all these different things you can do, like come across random strangers that you can help out, fight off annoying ass bounty hunters, and or hunt animals that you can sell for money, which mainly makes up for all the dead space. In GTA 5, there's nothing interesting to do in these dead spaces or even the entire map outside of story missions. In Los Santos, when you're not doing missions, there's really nothing much to do in it. It just feels like a giant lifeless city. I guess you can rob convenience stores, but other than that, there ain't much to do. There's just way more stuff to do in Red Dead 1. You have all those challenges that include treasure hunting, sharpshooter, master hunting, and survivalist, which gives a whole heap of stuff to do to keep you entertained in the entire open world and doesn't get stale. But one thing that I do find interesting about Grand Theft Auto 5's map is how it has sections blacked out and opens up as you progress through the campaign, than Red Dead 1 where the entire map is freely open to you to explore whenever you want to right from the beginning, which kinda gives you the illusion that GTA 5's map is massive when once you finish exploring it, it really doesn't feel that big. This isn't me saying that Grand Theft Auto 5 has a shitty map. I know the popular opinion is to say that GTA 5 had a shitty map because the way it was created. It's more of a mix that it's been the only GTA map we've had for the last 10 years, while Red Dead 1 had Red Dead Redemption 2 that completely overhauled its map. But generally speaking, Red Dead 1 and GTA 5 both have fantastic maps. They both do things better than each other, like having more stuff to do, keeping you more engaged with the world, and just looking more pretty. But despite my love for Red Dead 1's map, holy fuck, my biggest issue with the game, it might have to be its mechanics. I get that this game came out 14 years ago, but I feel like games that came out way before Red Dead 1 wasn't this bad. Because this 2010 game somehow hasn't been ported to PC, yet GTA 4 was, I don't get it. Console is the only way to play it, and on console there's no way to turn off auto aim, change your sensitivity, or crossfire. So when using auto aim, once you kill someone, it's like your crossfire just unrealistically whips directions in a very unnatural way. And it's the same for Deadeye, and I'd say it's even more clunky and weird for Deadeye. Like, it just locks on enemies in a very robotic way. It's not even panning, it's just cutting to different people. I know GTA 4's aiming isn't perfect 16 years later, but it feels way more fluent than Red Dead 1. When you're aiming, your crossfire isn't just violently whipping across the screen to different people. I've made it clear several times that I'm not a super huge fan of GTA 5's gunplay because of how the weapons feel like toy guns almost. They don't have any sort of weight to them when you fire them. Any gun that you use feels the exact same no matter how big or small it is. At least in Red Dead Redemption, you can feel the vibration of your controller as you shoot your gun, but the guns function I feel way more fluently in GTA 5 than Red Dead Redemption's. And in GTA 5, you have the option to turn off auto aim, adjust your sensitivity and crossfire, and more adjustments that you can switch around to fit your liking. And when it comes to the actual missions, I do feel like Red Dead Redemption is very similar to GTA 4's. Repetitive and slightly tedious. It's, you know, the classic get told to go here by someone, go there, have a shootout, rescue someone, and mission complete. And I get it's like that because Red Dead 1 is kind of like a contrast to GTA 4, since the two games are very similar in terms of their mechanics like the ragdoll and combat physics. But for me personally, Red Dead 1's missions are very monotonous at times. I can only keep helping Louisa so many times before I just want to put a bullet in her.
They are coming by the old trail. You must ambush them.
I have my own family to worry about.
Mr. Marston, I have lost my father.
I don't give a shit. Like, she has some of the worst missions in the entire game. They're like all just a copy and paste type deal. What GTA 5's gameplay does so well at is put variety in it. Yeah, of course, the main theme of the game is we're robbing banks, having shootouts, but that's not all we're doing. We're shooting people from buildings, running out of burning buildings, doing yoga, playing as a dog, you're doing street racing, all sorts of different gameplay aspects. And I think Red Dead Redemption's story being hella short kinda contributes to the gameplay being kinda stale. There's only 57 story missions in Red Dead 1. If it had like 15 or 20 more missions, then they could have given Rockstar more time to implement a little bit more variety than the shootouts all the time. For example, it could have been cool if the game would allow us to have a moment with Jack, where we go out fishing with him when John Marston arrived back to his ranch to reconnect back with his family. Or it could have been interesting to have an entire mission where John teaches Jack how to shoot a gun properly, like how there was one in Red Dead Redemption 2, where Arthur guides Charlotte It's Balfour. Why can't I say names properly? Maybe not exactly these kinds of missions, but a different change of pacing than just constantly running around with a gun shooting everything that breathes. And that's mainly what makes GTA 5's gameplay so good, because there's multiple moments where everything riles down and then it riles back up with intense gameplay. I mean, look at the first mission in the game. It immediately throws you into a bank robbery, and then after that the game is fairly chill for a few hours, and the next thing you know, you're trying to save a goddamn boat. By the time Red Dead Redemption ended, it took me a minute to process everything because of how fast-paced everything is. And to be fair, honestly, it is kind of hard to throw in all these kinds of different gameplay aspects into a game that's already grounded, which was the problem that GTA 4 had. If you throw in batshit crazy gameplay, it's not going to really integrate smoothly in an already darker themed video game. It could have been something like Saints Row 2 where it's grounded but it has a mix of sort of wacky gameplay that's still kind of mellow though, but it is what it is. Red Dead Redemption definitely did have more potential for more gameplay, but unfortunately its campaign is just way too short to implement all of it for it to play out well. Red Dead Redemption also has next to no customization. I think it's actually the first few games that I've covered where you cannot customize anything. You can't customize your guns, can't choose which jacket, hat, shoes, holster, any of that stuff to wear. You can't even customize your horse, which was a real big letdown. The only thing that you can change about Jack or John is the outfits that the game has, where you can change into different suits or the typical bounty hunter outfit. But besides that, there's no customization. Some people actually like this, as it doesn't feel overwhelming like games like Red Dead Redemption 2 where everything you buy you can buff the shit out of. Me, I'm the type to spend way too long customizing every piece of clothing item I buy. In GTA 5, I have to always upgrade and put all sorts of cosmetics on my weapons and clothes to beef them out even though they have no sort of effect. And the thing that sucks with Red Dead Redemption not having a PC port is you can't mod it out with customization. Trust me, if Red Dead Redemption got a PC port, people would add all sorts of different customization and cosmetics that would completely overhaul the game. It's not gonna be Red Dead Redemption set in the West with revolvers anymore. answer, it's gonna be Red Dead Redemption with rocket launchers. You look at PC games like Saints Row 2, Skyrim, Cyberpunk, GTA 5, and look at all of the extra shit you can add in them that elevates the entire experience and pretty much changes it into an entirely different game, which is why Red Dead Redemption 1 needs a PC port, Rockstar. I'm not even a PC gamer, but there's a whole heap of stuff that I would love to add in Red Dead Redemption. And customization goes a long way with gaming in general, because it keeps you entertained for long periods of time when you're not doing anything in the game. You buy a new car or a new horse, boom, head to the stables of Los Angeles Customs and spend like 15 minutes choosing it to your liking. Vive's customization may not be on the level of Saints Row, but it has more than enough for a casual player like me. But now, let's shift our attention to the two games' stories, the characters, and how one does it better than the other. The obvious difference between the two games is Red Dead Redemption only has one protagonist while GTA 5 has three. The three protagonist system that was introduced into GTA 5 has always been controversial, mainly due because people feel like having three playable characters is just too many opposed to just only one, which I can kinda see where most of the fan base is coming from. Each Michael, Trevor, and Franklin all have their own mini story and background to them, but you know, with three whole playable characters, it makes it a bit hard for a player to get fully connected to all of them. With Michael, he's your typical ex-bank robber who struggles to move on from his past and can't help but continue that life of crime. Franklin is the younger one who grew up in the hood and is trying to follow in the footsteps of Michael and idolizes him as this cool guy who is a natural bank robber. And Trevor is just whatever you want to call him. A cannibalism, drug addict, psychopath, rapist, chomo. Alright, it's getting weird. But you see what I mean when it's hard to fully empathize and connect with all these different characters in their past when they all have drastically different personalities. It's hard to relate to any of them, none of them feel like they're your own character, and therefore it makes the entire story more shallow. While in Red Dead Redemption, despite the game taking place during a different time, it's so much more easier to understand John Marston's character arc and him as a person, since the focus is only on him. John Marston gets his wife and kid kidnapped by the government, he gets taken away by lawmen due to his past of him running with the Dutch Vanderlyn gang, where he robbed, killed, and terrorized innocent folks, and he's forced to hunt down his former outlaw buddies, Bill Williamson, Javier and Dutch Vanderlyn, during the midst of when the Wild West and gunslinger days were over. And if he doesn't capture his former friends in a certain amount of time, then great harm will be done to his family. And throughout the game, it's John Marston traveling all over the place to do the government's dirty work. And the thing you can easily relate to from John Marston is you can't run away from your past. And you see how it's much easier to get connected with John Marston's story and just the entire world of the game because you feel like you're on his journey as well. You can feel John Marston's anger when people play him all the time and take him as a joke instead of helping him find the men that he's after. You can feel how angry he is and how much he regrets the stuff they did in the past that got him up in this situation. You can just relate to a situation so much more easier, minus the killing, I would hope so, and you can feel bad for him. In GTA 5, I just can't feel for Michael, Trevor, or Franklin. To me, they feel less like humans and more of like superheroes. The story in Red Dead is overall just more deeper, hits harder, and is more compelling than GTA 5. And I don't want to make it seem like that's the reason it's bad because the story isn't deep. GTA 5 story is all about humor, maybe apart from the torture scene, but nothing really about the campaign is meant to be super serious or supposed to make you feel sad. It has such funny moments and it's such a comedic piece of media. Not all games have to bring you to tears for it to be a good story. Now, I'm not a game dev or anything, but I do know that getting attached to a character or characters is something that the game needs to do for it to be a good story, sad or comedic, or else it's gonna feel like you're controlling a random stranger that you can't connect with. There's a reason why so many people cry when Arthur Morgan dies, and that's because, well, one, the story is like 60 hours long, but the game does such a good job at making Arthur Morgan such a likable and down-to-earth character that the player can recognize and empathize with way more. There's definitely some parts that are kinda deep in GTA 5, like when Trevor tells Michael how nobody cares about him because of how crazy he is.
I got a fucking family! Yeah, well, I got nothing! No one gives a fuck about me!
Correct. But other than that, the story is just Michael, Trevor, and Franklin committing all types of crimes in Los Santos. I'm also very much certain that another huge reason why most people, including myself, find GTA 5 story lackluster is because the villains in the game are just not really that interesting. In Red Dead Redemption, you have villains like Edgar Ross and Dutch Vanderlyn. It's very easy to hate Edgar Ross. He exploits John's family for his own personal gain. He's an absolute dick to him. He manipulates John all the time into almost getting himself killed, and is just a very easy person to hate.
Whatever in God's name you were just talking about? Is to kidnap a man's wife and son? Well,
I know there's contradictions. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I know this kidnapped your family, but it is what it is. And even despite John capturing the men he wanted him to, he still ends up killing him in the end, making him a piece of shit in most people's eyes. And the game displays Dutch Vanderlyn as just a valid person who John once looked up to as a father figure, to someone who doesn't even think twice about killing innocent folks, and pokes fun of his wife for being a whore. In GTA 5, however, these villains like Steve Haynes and Devin Weston are not even really villains, to be honest. They're just assholes and nothing more than that. We don't know anything about them. For most of the duration of the game, they're not even actual threats, more of just dickheads in the story. It got to the point where I was questioning why wasn't Trevor the main antagonist. He's the courageous one out of any character combined in the game. He does anything on impulse and causes a whole heap of trouble and almost gets all three of them killed on several occasions. Trevor is more of a threat than the two villains that the game labels as. There's just not really a clear-cut villain in the game who has done anything that warrants them to be labeled as a villain. When I think of a video game villain, I think of someone who tries to kill me, leads things that can kill me, or just a very, very bad person, not someone who comes across as just an asshole.
Did I, Cupcake?
Why don't you keep your fucking voice down before I close your fucking windpipe? The joke stopped now, pal. You will show me and my team some respect.
And there's just some parts of GTA 5 story that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Like that part where Trevor kills Johnny from the Lost in the Dam for no apparent reason, which caused a whole controversy of people hating Rockstar for doing this. In Red Dead Redemption, everything happens for a purpose. Louisa gets killed because she's an idiot. Johnny gets killed in the end because Edgar Ross had no intention of keeping him alive and just wanted to use him for his own gain. Choosing ending C in GTA 5 is the canon ending that most people have accepted to, because killing Trevor or Michael would be kinda stupid because you would lose the ability to play as either one of them, where in ending C, all three of you go off and kill every bad guy that's after you in the game, and after you successfully do that, you all get off scot-free and go back to your somewhat normal lives. And when the game ended there, my entire opinion kind of shifted to more of a it's decent, not great, but decent. I especially felt this way because I came back to the game like almost an entire year later. The ending just feels kind of rushed almost. It's like, alright, go out and kill all the bad guys and that will conclude the story. Like, there were major plot holes in the game that the writer started and kind of just forgot about. Like, all of the conflicts with Merryweather and the FIB are abruptly concluded when they go out and kill 3 men in the end. Red Dead's ending feels so much more satisfying because you know everything has happened up to this point and why John Marston is in this situation. Red Dead's story beats GTA 5's story out of the park in almost every single way. You should definitely still play GTA 5 if you haven't, because it's still a fantastic game, just the story isn't all of that. Overall in this video, I've gone over and compared the two games' gameplay aspects, how they both do certain things better than each other, its open world, customization differences, its story, and its characters. And in summary, it's kinda hard to say which one I would say is better, because both of these games are amazing in their own specific way. I would say that if you're a fan of GTA, then you'll most likely love Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. I love both of these games to death. I've put a shameful amount of hours in GTA 5 over the years, and will continue to play it here and there. Thank you all so much for 1.7k subscribers, that is absolutely insane. May not be a big number, but I've never had this many people watching my videos before. So thank you all once again, very much appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. See ya.